I quit my job. Plot twist, I have another job. Did you think it was going to be one of those videos? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you are good, hope you are well. So yeah, the title of this video was intentionally vague. I did quit my job, but I found another job before I quit my job, which is contrary to what I've been seeing a lot of recently. Maybe it's the algorithm, maybe it was a sign from God, I don't know. But I was seeing a lot of I quit my job content. 2020, 2021 was definitely the year of the resignation, and I'm not mad at it. To be honest, I love how our generation are quitters. No joking. I love how they're just like not sticking around for something and moving around and not being basically afraid to be bold and take risks. I'm here for it. But what was baffling me about a lot of these like I quit my job type videos was that they would just be like, hey, I quit my job. And there was always this like, well, for me anyway, there was always this elephant in the room where I kind of wanted to step in and be like, sis, bro, so what are you doing for money now? Because that's really and truly, that's why we all work. So I always imagine like either they're quitting to become full-time content creators. I think that's quite common on YouTube. Or they've got loads of savings, so they're good for a while, or they live with parents or something. But it's very rarely explained. And I think that part of the explanation is kind of important, kind of useful, because for a lot of us, quitting without like an option or a plan B or like a new job to go to is not an option. Or it's an option, but like it's not the smartest option based on where we are in life, our goals, our responsibilities, etc. And so I feel like when that's like a big piece that's missed out, it's just a bit like, oh, just a bit disappointing really. So yeah, I will explain like my decision to leave my job and the process and everything like that. So backtracking, I was in my current role, the role I just left. I was there for 2.5 years. Yeah, about 2.5 years, coming up to 3 years. I don't know if that's short, I don't know if that's long. I think that's a pretty decent stint for a millennial. Lol. But yeah, I was there for 2.5 years. Anyway, I decided to leave mostly because I became burnt out. And in being burnt out, I was thinking a lot about like my priorities, what's important to me. And I decided that I was going to look for something that was more in line with how I want my like work-life balance to be, essentially. And staying where I was, I think just wasn't, I realized it wasn't a sustainable way of working for me long term. I think the pandemic had a lot of us in like deep thought, quarter life crisis, maybe midlife crisis, God forbid, kind of zone, rethinking priorities, rethinking everything basically. I was seeing, you were probably seeing article after article about things like burnout, or people just rethinking their careers, quitting this career path to go down another career path, just generally questioning a lot of the things that were seen as the norm. For example, like, why have you been making me commute on this dusty, crusty train every day? And now we're realizing that actually, everyone's a bit more productive when they work remotely. So just rethinking structures that had been in place, ideologies, ideals, norms that had been in place without question, or people weren't questioning them as much. Those are the sort of things we start to question. And despite being so busy and kind of burnt out over lockdown, I was still in my head. I think a lot of us were we just like alone with our thoughts. And so yeah, I had a think, I reprioritized, and I decided to look for something else. I did like the company, I liked my colleagues, I liked whatever, but like, yeah, essentially the main thing was that I was experiencing burnout and work stress. And even for so long, even now a little bit, I know it sounds weird, but it's embarrassing for me to have admitted that I was burnt out or that I was stressed about work, because I don't know, I look around and I think there are people working just as hard as me, or even harder than me from my point of view, who are handling it. So yeah, I don't know, it sounds weird, but it was a bit embarrassing for me to be like, why can't I handle things that other people seem to be able to just get on with, basically. We're working through that, but that's not the point of this video. So yeah, for the longest time, I was obviously experiencing this sort of like massive workload, and for ages I kept looking internally to be like, okay, what can you do better, Adella? How can you manage your time better? How can you be more efficient? How can you be less stressed? Like me. And then it took me speaking to friends, family, Keith, my sister, Gabriel, etc., for me to actually stop and think like, oh, what if shock, what if it's not you, Adella? What if this is not something that you can have that much control over, because it's not you. That's the issue here. And Gabriel, my brother-in-law, he actually made a comment that stuck with me. He was talking about like me and my sister Anna, who are quite similar, and kind of potentially like men and women, like the difference between men and women. It's obviously quite a generalization, but it kind of stuck with me. He said that when women, or from what he's seen, like me and my sister versus him and Keith, for example, we will see a ship sinking and we'll be in the ship, like scooping out water, trying to like save the ship. Whereas he, and potentially just men, like the way they're socialized, will jump ship, abort. They're not there to save the ship. They see the ship is sinking and they go. And so that kind of stuck with me. It's like, oh, am I like staying in this thing? Not that the company's sinking, but like, am I staying in this thing that essentially for me is like sinking because my mental health is declining, etc. And I'm trying to fix it when actually it can't be fixed, and I need to kind of like abort. So yeah, I was feeling stretched, but it's weird because I was somehow like, I knew what I was feeling, but I was also a little bit oblivious to it because it was all I knew. Like my job before this job, which was also like my first job post-grad, so like my first sort of career job, was kind of similar in terms of like workload, working late, stress, etc. Not quite the same, but similar. So I think that's all I knew. And so I thought that was the norm. And it was only when I was out with some friends and I said to my friend, like, I can't remember what I said, but she said, yeah, but Adella, you're always working. And I said, yeah, but so is everyone. To which she replied, no, no, they're not. Like when I said so is everyone, I meant like, I don't know, people in similar sort of office-based jobs or like, 9-to-5 corporate kind of jobs. She said, no, they're not. And then she went on to kind of give me examples of people she knew that were in similar professions that actually had a pretty normal work-life balance, finished at 5, finished at 6, clocked off, didn't carry their work all day and all night like I did. So that was a big eye-opener. So it took all these conversations for me to be like, okay, Adella, let me bounce. And the thing with me and making decisions is I have this like really strong fear sometimes that I'm going to make the wrong decision. And I think that's what maybe kept me there longer than I needed to be there. And what sort of helped me get over that was I was thinking, okay, well, or my sister, someone said it, or I said it, I don't know. It was like, okay, you leave, you go somewhere else, you think the grass is greener, you find it's not. What has changed? And I was like, that's a good point. I'm stressed and burnt out here. So if I make the wrong decision and I'm stressed and burnt out there, what's changed? And I know people sometimes say like, it's better the devil that you do know than the devil that you don't. God forbid that. But no, in this case, no. I just had to be like, listen. And also, hello, God. Like, I have to have faith. I have to trust God that like, I'm going to be where I should be. And he's going to strengthen me through all of it. But anyways, that's not the point of this video. I was just about to go down a little preach. So yeah, I made a decision to bounce. However, I also want to share why it wasn't at that point that I called up and handed in my notice. I want to talk about why I made a decision to not quit and that's it, but actually to do the monkey bar where I go from one career to another and not actually consider quitting until I had found a new career path, a new job, and signed that contract. I definitely entertained the idea of just being like post quitting, not having a job to go to, just being like, I quit, like all these other videos I was seeing. My sort of ideas my conversations with Keith went from wild to like, Keith, why are we part of this rat race? Why are we sticking to the status quo? Let's take those savings that we're saving for a mortgage, yeah? Let's quit our jobs. Let's pack up and let's go to Bali. We could live there for a year. And then it went to a bit more like reasonable to like, oh, actually, let me quit my job and I could pursue this YouTube content creation full time. And I was like, if I put the hours that I would have taken back from my career into this, like it could go so far, which is kind of true. And if I'm being completely transparent, we can survive on one salary, thankfully. Like we've had to do it at times before. So we can survive on one salary plus my current like YouTube revenue. So that was a viable option. It wasn't crazy. And there were actually times where Keith explicitly said to me, Adella, quit your job. Just do it, because he'd seen so many breakdowns that I'd had and he was just like, this is not healthy, quit your job. But I didn't. until I found a new one. And I didn't, because that wasn't our original plan. Like, I didn't want to make a decision now, despite like how desperate I was at times. I didn't want to make a decision now that would mean we had to rewrite what was already quite a good sort of plan that we've had in place. So that's the main reason why I didn't explore these other options, because truth be told, I was making those decisions out of like desperation, because whenever I'd explore the idea of us flying off to Bali for a year, it was usually after like I've just cried at my desk. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if that's always a good place to make a decision from, versus, you know, this well thought out, rational sort of 5-year plan that we've sat down and made when our minds were not clouded with stress. Anyways, one of our biggest plans includes buying a house. And I don't have to tell anybody if you live in the UK or anywhere else where houses are, or London. Oh my gosh. Anyways, I don't have to tell you how hard it is to get on the property ladder, let alone trying to get on the property ladder if I was no longer in full-time employment and rather self-employed with less than 3 years of accounts. Like, any freelancers in the comments, can I get an amen? Like, that would actually make things so much harder. So that was like reason number one. But also, like, we're just not done yet in this corporate life. We're not done. Like, we've still got financial goals we want to meet. We've still got like things we want to learn, career not milestones, but you know what I mean? We're just not done. It wasn't the plan. And so this corporate life, I'll be a corporate babe for a bit longer. And also in my state of, I don't want to say desperation, like I really hated my life, but in my state of like, okay, I want to find a new job, I was still super specific in my job search, because now I knew what I liked about my current and past roles and what I didn't like. And so I was very specific about the job that I wanted to find. And let me tell you, job hunting in that sort of mind frame can be very hard, because you're at a point where you know you want out. So mentally you're slowly checking out. But then I'm somebody who always still has to do a good job to the last day. Sometimes people are like, Adella, relax, it's your last day. But I'm the kind of person that I just have to work hard to the very end. So that kind of like battle of like, I've checked out versus I have to do a good job. That's a battle. So searching for a job when you're ready, when you're mentally out, is, you get desperate. Do you know what I mean? I'm applying for any kind of job and then I get to interview stage. And then I had to turn down a couple of jobs because I was like, why did you apply for this, Adella? Calm down and you'll find the right thing. And I think I'm blessed to have, hopefully, I think, found something good, but it was brutal at times. And I definitely agree, if you know me, you watch my videos, you know that I definitely agree that your mental health, your emotional health is much more important than your career by far. So I definitely understand why people are quitting, upping and leaving without like a plan B, without another job, taking that kind of risk. I get it. But I also do think there's strength in not being a quitter. And don't hear it as in a way that I'm not saying it. I'm just being quitter as a descriptive. I don't know if that's an adjective, but if we quit, you are a quitter. As in, it's not always a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is. I'm just using it matter of factly. I do think there's strength in not being a quitter. I personally have found a lot of strength in taking the road that is not immediately gratifying, immediately releases me of my stress and my mental health battles even, but actually is more suited to achieving my longer term goals. And I think that mentality that road that I took is actually maybe a bit more helpful for the majority of people who don't have the luxury of quitting a job without another job secured or without some sort of financial backing or savings or something. Also, it's good to know that I think this very much depends on the kind of person that you are, your personality, because I know people who are able to quit a job and who are able to accept like the struggle, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, financially, whatever. They're able to like be like financially struggling and hustle their way back up. I know some people whose personality is just very much like grinding and they're able to be at the bottom and work their way back up to the top. I know people who are like that, and those kind of people can quit and they'll get back up again. They're kind of people like that. Me, I don't think that suits my personality very much. So also important to do some self-reflection, to know yourself, and in a desperate state that you might be in to quit your job without any sort of backup, it's also important just to think rationally and do some self-reflection and think, what kind of person am I? Can I actually be that person that quits my job with nothing? Self-awareness amidst the frustration is key. which is sometimes the hardest time to have that self-awareness. Basically, whatever the next steps are, I do wish more people that kind of shared content around like, I quit my job. I wish they would share like the next steps a little bit more. I think we hear a lot about people who are going to do content, but what about the people who can't actually make money from content right now? Maybe their channels aren't big enough, etc., etc. I would love if they would share more about like, all right, I quit my job and here's what I'm going to do next. Even if what they're going to do next is like, I don't know, it's good to just be, I think, transparent in that area. Anyway, that's it. That is me. I just wanted to share a bit of a brain dump life update / brain dump of thoughts on the whole I quit movement. As always, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you been seeing a lot of I quit content? I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Pray for your girl. She's about to start a new role, and I hope it's I don't mind working hard. I just want to finish at 6. So I will see you guys in my next video. Check out some of the related videos, which will be right here. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Bye.